The room fell silent. Not the kind of silence that comes from people minding their business, but the heavy, frozen silence that drops when something unbelievable happens. Everyone inside Lawson Empire Bistro, customers, chefs, security guards, even the barista, stood still with wide eyes. Desmond Lawson, the billionaire owner of Lawson Empire, had just screamed at a waitress. But that was not the shocking part. Desmond shouted at everyone. He had a voice that could shake windows, and he enjoyed reminding people that he was the king of every room he walked into. The real shock was what came next. Amara, small, tired, soft-spoken Amara, looked straight at him, her hands shaking as she held a glass of juice he said she spilled. Her voice was quiet but steady as she said the impossible words, "Sir, please don't ever shout at me publicly again." A billionaire. A waitress. An entire restaurant holding its breath. And Desmond froze. His eyes widened, his jaw tightened. He stared at her as if she were a puzzle piece that didn't match the picture. In that moment, everyone expected thunder, fire, maybe even instant dismissal. Instead, Desmond stepped back just one tiny step, and the shock on his face made the customers whisper. This was the moment that would change everything. This was the moment no one would ever forget. But how did things reach this point? To understand that, we must go back to the beginning, before the scream, before the warning, before the billionaire's world flipped upside down. Earlier that morning, the sun was still climbing the sky when Amara arrived at work. Her uniform was neatly pressed, her braids tied back, her steps soft but steady. She always came early because she liked the quiet moments before customers flooded in. It felt peaceful, almost like a secret world she could hide inside. But behind her calm smile lived a story she never shared. People saw her carrying trays, greeting customers and wiping tables, but they didn't know the truth. They didn't know how many nights she slept hungry or how many jobs she lost because of rude customers or wicked co-workers. They didn't know she worked 2 other shifts just to support her younger brother in school. And no one, not a single person, knew the painful secret she carried from her past. But Desmond Lawson never cared about anyone's past. He only cared about perfection. He walked into the bistro that morning, wearing a sharp navy suit, his eyes cold, his steps loud, his presence swallowing the room. Staff immediately straightened their backs. Conversations died. Even the manager stood still. Amara stepped aside to let him pass, but her heart beat faster when she saw the anger in his eyes. Desmond was already upset, and everyone knew the slightest mistake could ruin someone's week. Still, she moved through her duties gracefully, greeting guests with her warm smile, the smile that made many regular customers request her by name. But someone else was watching her too. Adaora. A senior waitress with sharp eyes, a sharper tongue, and a heart full of jealousy. She hated that customers preferred Amara. She hated that Amara did her job well. She hated that the manager praised her. And most of all, she hated that Amara was the only person Desmond's eyes lingered on when he gave instructions. So, when Adaora saw Desmond walking toward Amara later that afternoon, she smirked. She had set something in motion. Something small. Something she was sure would ruin Amara. A customer at table 7 had ordered orange juice. Amara placed it carefully on the tray. She hadn't even touched the glass. But Adaora did. When Amara stepped away for just one moment, Adaora walked by, accidentally bumping the tray and making a few drops spill. She walked off quickly before anyone noticed. Then she whispered to Desmond as he passed, "Sir, Amara served spilled juice." Again. That was all Desmond needed to hear. When he turned and saw the tiny spill on the glass, he didn't ask questions. He didn't check the camera. He didn't even try to control himself. His anger exploded like a storm. "Are you even paying attention?" His voice boomed across the room. Amara froze. Customers gasped. A baby started crying. It was loud, cruel, and unfair because she didn't do it. But Desmond didn't care. "You think this is a playground? You think you can serve customers nonsense like this? If you cannot handle a simple drink, then why are you even here?" The words cut her deeply. Not because he shouted, but because she had tried so hard not to disappoint. Her heart pounded. Her fingers trembled. Something inside her snapped, not in anger, but in courage. A courage she didn't know she had. She lifted her head slowly. Everyone felt the energy around her shift. Her voice was quiet, but every person in the room heard her clearly. "Sir, Please don't ever shout at me publicly again." A whisper of surprise moved across the bistro like a wave. Desmond's eyes widened. Adaora's jaw dropped. The manager covered his mouth. Amara didn't step back. She didn't look away. She didn't apologize like everyone expected. For the first time in her life, she stood up for herself. And that was when everything changed. Not just for Amara, but for Desmond too. Because in that one moment, that single, brave moment, Desmond saw something he had never noticed before. Fear in her eyes, yes. Pain, yes. But also strength. A strength he did not understand. And it startled him. It shook something inside him. But the room didn't get the chance to feel the full weight of his reaction. Because, just when Desmond opened his mouth to speak, a loud crash burst from the kitchen. Everyone jumped. Someone screamed. Smoke poured out of the doorway. The entire staff rushed toward the noise, everyone except Amara and Desmond, who locked eyes one more time. The shock between them was something electric, something dangerous, something no one in the room could explain. And in that moment, Amara knew her life had just stepped into a storm she was not ready for. The crash from the kitchen was so loud that even the customers closest to the door jumped to their feet. Plates clattered, chairs scraped the floor. A cloud of smoke rolled out like a warning. For a moment, no one moved. Then, suddenly, everyone moved at once. Chefs ran toward the smoke. The manager pushed through the crowd, shouting orders. Customers began whispering nervously. Someone tried to record the scene with their phone until a security guard warned them not to. But in the middle of the chaos, two people stood perfectly still. Desmond and Amara. Their eyes were locked. Desmond in confusion, Amara in fear and determination. The world around them spun, but that strange, intense silence held them both for one more heartbeat. Then Desmond blinked, breaking the spell. He turned sharply and rushed toward the kitchen. Amara followed. Even though her body trembled, she didn't know it yet, but stepping through that kitchen door would pull her deeper into something far bigger than spilled juice or shouted orders. Something dangerous. Something life-changing. Inside the kitchen, panic spread like heat. One of the junior chefs was coughing hard on the floor, waving smoke away from his face. A fryer basket lay sideways, oil spilled across the tiles. A pot of boiling water had fallen too, and steam hissed angrily. Everyone was shouting over everyone else. "Who dropped the basket?" "I don't know, someone pushed me." "This fire could have burned down the place. Get the extinguisher." Desmond stepped forward, his face tight with anger, but this time, the anger wasn't reckless. It was controlled, focused, sharp. He turned to the head chef. "What happened?" The chef swallowed hard. I'm not sure, sir. Something must have hit the fryer station." It tipped over suddenly. Desmond narrowed his eyes. "Something? Or someone?" The chef said nothing. Amara noticed something the others didn't. The fryer station wasn't hit by accident. She saw a broom lying near the counter with oil stains on the handle, almost as if someone had pushed it deliberately. But before she could speak, Adaora rushed into the kitchen with wide, innocent eyes. Oh my God, Amara was the last person near the kitchen. Maybe she... "Stop right there," a deep voice cut in. It wasn't Desmond. It was the manager. He stepped beside Amara protectively. "That is enough, Adaora." Adaora froze. She had expected the room to turn against Amara easily, but this time her lies crashed into a wall. Still, she wasn't ready to give up. "But sir," I said enough. The manager's eyes were cold. Desmond watched all of this silently. He wasn't defending Amara, but he wasn't attacking her either. He was studying, analyzing every expression, every move. The same way he analyzed business deals. He was analyzing her. The whisper Desmond should not have heard. The smoke slowly cleared. The junior chef was helped to a chair. The manager began calming customers outside. Adaora stepped back, but as she passed another waitress, she whispered sharply, "Watch how I finish that girl today. She thinks she's brave? She doesn't know me." She thought no one heard, but Desmond did. His eyes narrowed, not in anger, but in curiosity. He filed the words away quietly. Something wasn't right. Something about that spill. Something about the crash. Something about the way people looked at Amara. It all began to form a picture in his mind, and he didn't like what he was seeing. After the mess was cleaned and the kitchen was safe, Desmond turned to Amara. "Follow me," he said. His voice wasn't loud, It wasn't soft either. It was unreadable. Every staff member froze. A few exchanged looks of pity. Some whispered, "She's finished. He's going to fire her." I warned her not to talk back. Adaora smiled. A slow, wicked smile. Amara felt her breath tighten, but she lifted her chin. She wouldn't panic. Not now. Desmond led her through the hallway into his private office, a quiet room with glass walls, a large desk, and a soft city view of Lagos. He closed the door behind her. For a moment, neither spoke. Then Desmond walked closer, his eyes searching her face, not with anger, but something else. Something unsettling. "Why did you speak to me like that?" he asked quietly. His tone was calm, but sharp enough to cut glass. Amara swallowed hard. "Because you shouted at me for something I didn't do. You warned me publicly," he said. "Do you know who I am?" "Yes, sir," Amara replied softly. "But I also know who I am." That answer shook him more than her earlier warning. He stepped back, studying her again in silence. Most people trembled when he raised his voice. Some resigned, others begged. But Amara? She stood her ground with a strange mixture of fear and courage, like someone who had already survived far worse. He didn't understand it. And Desmond hated not understanding things. "How long have you worked here?" he asked. 3 months, sir. And in 3 months, you have never spoken out. Why now? Amara looked down at her hands. There is only so much a person can take. Desmond felt something unfamiliar in his chest. He didn't know the word for it, but if someone asked, it felt a little like guilt. Just a little. He wasn't used to feeling that. He didn't like it. He turned away, pretending to study a file on his desk. "You can go." Amara nodded and walked toward the door. But just as she reached it, Desmond's voice stopped her. "Amara." She turned. His eyes were softer now. "Don't warn me publicly again," he said. A pause. "Next time, warn me privately." She blinked, confused. He didn't look angry. He didn't look offended. He looked intrigued. Before she could reply, someone burst through the door. "Sir!" It was one of his security officers. "You need to come to the event hall immediately." Desmond frowned. "What happened?" The officer swallowed hard. "It's your brother, Kenneth. He is causing a scene," and he mentioned the waitress. Amara froze. Why would Desmond's brother, a billionaire's brother, be talking about her? Desmond's expression darkened. "Stay here," he ordered her. But before he stepped out, he added quietly, "This is not over." The door slammed shut. Amara stood alone in the office, her heart pounding. What was going on? How did she get pulled into the family drama of the richest man she had ever known? And what exactly did Kenneth say about her? Her fingers tightened at her sides. She didn't know it yet, but her life had just entered a dangerous new chapter, one she could no longer walk away from. The event hall shook with noise even before Desmond reached the doorway. People were murmuring, staff members were rushing around, and security guards were trying and failing to calm down one man in the center of the chaos. Kenneth Lawson, Desmond's younger brother. Handsome, reckless, spoiled, and dangerous in ways most people didn't understand. His shirt sleeves were rolled up, his eyes wild with anger, and he pointed sharply at anyone who dared come close. "She's the reason," he shouted. "I don't want to hear anything. I said what I said." The crowd parted when Desmond walked in. Everyone sensed the shift instantly. Desmond was calm danger. Kenneth was loud danger, the kind that spills without warning. Kenneth turned and saw his older brother. "Ah, here he is, the almighty Desmond Lawson." He laughed harshly. "Have you heard what your little waitress did?" Desmond's eyes hardened. "Kenneth, lower your voice." "No," Kenneth barked. "You always want me to be quiet when you are the one who should be listening." Security guards took a step closer, but Desmond raised a hand, stopping them. "Say what you want to say," Desmond said calmly. Kenneth grinned, the kind of grin that comes before a storm. "I heard," he said loudly, "that a waitress warned you publicly." "A waitress? In your restaurant? In front of customers?" He clapped slowly, dramatically. "How does it feel, big brother? The great Desmond Lawson being challenged by a girl who probably earns less than your wristwatch." People gasped. Some hid their faces. Staff whispers rippled across the room like wind through dry grass. Desmond didn't move. His jaw tightened, but he didn't defend himself, which surprised everyone. Kenneth paced angrily. Do you know what father would say if he were alive? He would say you're losing control of your empire. First the board fights you, then the shareholders whisper against you, and now a waitress looks you in the eye and challenges you. He jabbed a finger in Desmond's face. You are slipping, Desmond, and you're too proud to see it. Desmond spoke quietly. Leave Amara out of this. Kenneth froze. The room froze. Even Desmond seemed surprised he'd said that. Kenneth laughed sharply. Ah, so her name is Amara? You're even defending her now? Desmond didn't answer. And that silence was the loudest thing in the room. Kenneth stepped closer, his voice dropping to a dark whisper, but loud enough for everyone to hear. Watch that girl closely, brother. I'm telling you now, she will bring problems. Big problems. Then he brushed past Desmond, storming out of the hall. Security followed him. Managers exhaled. Staff relaxed slightly, but Desmond didn't move. He stood completely still, silent, tense, thinking. Because beneath Kenneth's madness, there was something unsettling. Kenneth didn't attack people for no reason. He always knew something. Even when he lied, there was truth hiding inside the lie. And now he had pulled Amara into a Lawson family fight she didn't even know existed. The office door opens again. Back in his office, Amara stood quietly, waiting. Every tick of the clock made her more nervous. What is Kenneth saying about me? Why would the billionaire's brother mention me? Why did Desmond tell me to stay back? She sat in a chair, staring at the Lagos skyline through the glass. Cars moved like tiny dots. The bistro downstairs continued serving customers as if nothing had changed. But everything had changed. Her whole life had shifted in one afternoon. The door swung open. Desmond walked in, his face unreadable. He closed the door gently, too gently. He almost never closed doors gently. Amara stood up. Sir, sit down. His voice wasn't harsh, it wasn't soft either. It was controlled, careful. She sat slowly. Desmond ran a hand over his face, then leaned against the edge of his desk, arms folded. He stared at her for a long moment. Did you tell anyone what happened between us in the restaurant? He asked. No, sir. Did you brag? Did you complain? Did you say anything that might get to my brother? No, sir, she repeated, confused. I didn't talk to anyone. Desmond studied her face, searching for any sign of a lie. He didn't find one, which made him more confused. Then he spoke again. My brother believes you. Mean trouble for me. Amara's eyebrows lifted in shock. Me? Why? I don't even know him. Desmond didn't explain. Because he couldn't. Kenneth's behavior made no sense. Not yet. Instead, he asked a strange question. Who are you, Amara? She blinked. I'm a waitress. His gaze sharpened. No, that's what you do. I'm asking who you are. Her chest tightened. No one had asked her that in years, maybe ever. And she didn't have the words to answer. She looked down at her hands, twisting her fingers nervously. I don't know what you mean, sir. Desmond exhaled slowly. Something about you is unusual. Amara froze. The last time someone told her that exact sentence, something about you is unusual, her life changed forever, and not in a good way. A tiny shiver ran through her. But Desmond didn't notice. He was still trapped in his own thoughts. From today, he said quietly, I want you to be careful. Don't talk to anyone about what happened. Don't argue with anyone. Don't confront anyone. If there is a problem, tell me directly. Amara's heart knocked hard against her ribs. He wasn't threatening her. He was protecting her. But why? Before she could ask, there was a knock at the door. Bam, bam, bam. Desmond frowned. Who is it? The door opened without waiting. The manager stepped in, face pale. Sir, you need to see this. What now? It's the CCTV footage from the kitchen incident. Desmond's expression sharpened immediately. What about it? The manager swallowed hard and set the laptop on the desk. He pressed play. Amara leaned forward slowly. Desmond's eyes locked onto the screen. And then, they both saw something they never expected. Something that made Desmond stand up so fast, his chair almost fell over. The kitchen accident wasn't an accident. Someone had tried to cause it, deliberately. And the target was Amara. The screen went black. No one spoke. Then Desmond whispered the words that would reshape everything. Someone is trying to get rid of you. The room felt colder. Desmond and Amara stared at the paused CCTV frame glowing on the laptop screen. It showed a hand, someone's hand pushing the broomstick toward the fire station at the exact moment Amara walked past. It was not an accident. It was not a mistake. It was a planned trap, and it was meant to hurt her. Amara's breath caught in her throat. She didn't know whether to feel fear, or shock, or both. Desmond took a step back from the laptop, his jaw tightening. "Play it again," he said. The manager replayed the footage. Same moment. Same hidden hand. Same deliberate push. And then the pot fell. The fryer spilled. Chaos exploded in the kitchen. Desmond turned to the manager quietly. "Do you recognize the person?" The manager shook his head. "The camera didn't catch the face, sir. Only the hand. The hand wore a bracelet. A gold one with tiny beads. A female bracelet." Desmond's eyes narrowed with slow rising anger. "Zoom in." The manager did. The screen sharpened. Not a clear face. Not even a full arm. Just the bracelet. But that one small clue was enough. Amara inhaled sharply. She had seen that bracelet before. Every day. On the wrist of Adaora. Her heart dropped. But before she could speak, Desmond said something that made her freeze. "No conclusions yet. We move quietly." He turned to the manager. "No one outside this office must know we saw this footage." "Not yet." "Yes, sir." Then he faced Amara. And for the first time since she met him, his face didn't look cold or controlling. It looked worried. "Amara, listen carefully," he said. "Someone is trying to hurt you, and until we understand why, I need you to be very careful." Amara nodded slowly, but her voice trembled. "Sir, I don't understand. I did nothing to anyone." Desmond paused, his eyes thoughtful. "That might be the problem," he said. While Desmond called security to his office privately, Amara returned downstairs. The moment she walked into the bistro, all eyes turned to her. Whispers followed her like shadows. "There she is. That waitress who talked back to the boss. She will lose her job soon." "I heard she's the reason," Kenneth shouted. But one stare felt heavier than all the others. Adaora, standing near the bar counter, arms folded, a smile that was too sweet to be real. Amara's stomach tightened. Adaora approached her slowly, pretending to fix a napkin on a nearby table. "So," Adaora whispered with a smirk, "you think you're special now, right? Standing up to the boss like you're someone important." Amara didn't reply. Adaora leaned closer, her voice turning sharp. "Let me warn you, little girl. This place doesn't belong to heroes or brave people. It belongs to survivors, and I will make sure you don't survive." She stepped back, smiling again, then walked away. But Amara didn't move, because in that moment, just for a second, she saw the bracelet on Adaora's wrist, the same bracelet from the CCTV. Her hands grew cold. Adaora had tried to hurt her. But why? Just because of jealousy? Just because customers liked her? Or was there something bigger? Amara didn't know, and that fear sat deep inside her chest like a stone. Upstairs, Desmond was in a different kind of storm. Kenneth. The name alone made him rub his forehead in frustration. He grabbed his phone and dialed. Kenneth picked up on the second ring. "Ah, big brother, have you calmed down, or are you still pretending to be king?" Desmond ignored the insult. "Why did you bring up Amara downstairs?" "Because it's fun," Kenneth replied lazily. "And because I know you, Desmond. I know when something shakes you." "Nothing shakes me." Kenneth laughed. "Lies. A waitress stood up to you and you're still thinking about it." Desmond said nothing. Kenneth continued, voice turning lower and more pointed. "Desmond, you don't see the board meetings the way I do. You don't listen when people gossip. You don't read the things people write about you. But I do. And people are watching you. The moment your staff start disrespecting you publicly, your empire becomes weak." Desmond's jaw clenched. "And what does Amara have to do with any of that?" he asked. Kenneth hesitated, and that hesitation, only 1 second long, was enough to worry Desmond. "Let's just say," Kenneth finally said, "that girl may be the beginning of something you're not prepared for." "What does that mean?" Kenneth chuckled. "It means watch your back, brother. And watch hers too." Click. The call ended. Desmond stood still, his grip tightening on the phone. Kenneth wasn't just talking nonsense. Kenneth never wasted words. If Kenneth said trouble was coming, trouble was already here. Downstairs, Amara stepped into the staff changing room to take a breath. Her hands shook, her chest felt tight. She leaned against the wall, closing her eyes. Why was all this happening? She came here to work, to earn money, to survive quietly. She didn't want trouble. She didn't look for attention. She never wanted to be noticed. But life never let her hide for long. Every time she tried to live in peace, something from the past pulled her into storms she didn't ask for. A soft knock pulled her out of her thoughts. It was the manager. "Amara," he said gently. "Mr. Desmond asked me to give you this." He handed her a small keycard. "To what?" she asked. The manager lowered his voice. "To the private elevator." Amara blinked. "Why?" he said. "From now on, you should use that route only. No more walking through the general hallway." Amara's heart jumped. Why was the billionaire protecting her this much? Why was he suddenly watching her closely? Why was she being treated like someone important? Before she could speak, the manager added, "And he asked me to tell you, don't trust anyone, not even the staff." Amara's breath shook. "What is happening?" she whispered. The manager sighed. "I don't know, Amara, but be careful, really careful." He walked out, leaving Amara alone again, holding a keycard she didn't ask for, feeling eyes watching her from places she couldn't see, the warning she never expected. Hours later, as the bistro closed and staff prepared to leave, Amara walked toward the back exit, but she suddenly stopped. Someone was standing near the gate, tall, shadowy, still. Her heart raced. The figure stepped forward, into the light. It was Kenneth, Desmond's brother. His eyes were cold. His smile was dangerous. "Good evening, Amara," he said softly. Her breath caught. What are you doing here?" Kenneth took a slow step closer. "I'm here to warn you." She froze. "Warn me about what?" Kenneth leaned in, voice dropping to a whisper. "Lagos is full of secrets, Amara. And you are standing in the middle of one you don't understand." He looked her straight in the eye. "Stay away from Desmond if you want to stay alive." Amara's knees weakened. Kenneth stepped back, smiled again, and walked into the darkness, leaving Amara rooted to the spot, her heart pounding, her mind spinning. She didn't know it yet, but that moment marked the beginning of a danger far bigger than jealousy or spilled juice, a danger that could destroy everything. Amara could barely breathe. Kenneth's words echoed in her mind long after he disappeared into the darkness. "Stay away from Desmond if you want to stay alive." Alive. Not safe. Not comfortable. Alive. Her hands trembled as she clutched her bag against her chest. The night breeze brushed her face, but it did nothing to calm the storm inside her. What did he mean? Why would being near Desmond put her life in danger? Why would a billionaire's brother warn a waitress, someone he barely knew, about danger surrounding his own blood? She wanted to move, but her legs refused to cooperate. Then, a voice broke the silence. "Amara?" She jumped back. It was Desmond. He stepped out from the staff entrance, his face sharp with concern. "What are you still doing outside?" he asked. Amara swallowed hard. "Your brother was just here." Desmond froze. "What did he say to you?" Her throat tightened. "He told me to stay away from you," he said. "I could die if I don't." Desmond's entire expression changed. Not fear. Not confusion. Rage. Slow, controlled rage. "Get inside," he said quietly. "Now." Amara obeyed, her heartbeat pounding in her ears. Desmond followed, closing the door behind them. The hallway was empty, dim, still. "Tell me exactly what Kenneth said," Desmond demanded. She repeated every word. Desmond ran a hand through his hair and began pacing. "This is getting out of hand." Amara watched him carefully. "Sir, what is going on?" He stopped pacing. He looked at her, really looked at her, and for once, the confident billionaire didn't look powerful. He looked troubled. "The truth begins to surface." "Amara," Desmond said slowly, "there is something about my family you don't know. Something the public doesn't know." Her eyes widened. "And that something," he continued, "is the reason my brother is warning you." Amara's voice shook. "But what does that have to do with me? I'm just a waitress." Desmond shook his head. "No, you're not. At least not anymore." Her breath caught. He stepped closer, lowering his voice. "You stood up to me, publicly. And that one moment changed everything. Amara frowned softly. But why? Desmond hesitated just for a second. Then he said something she never expected. My family believes that anyone who can stand against me can influence me. Amara gasped quietly. They think I will begin to trust you more than them. They think you might become someone important to me, someone powerful, someone who could stand by my side. He stepped back, exhaling. And when my family feels threatened, they become dangerous. Amara's mouth slowly parted in shock. Dangerous, Desmond repeated. You saw it today. The trap in the kitchen. The lies. The whispers. Kenneth's warning. These things don't happen by accident. They happen when someone becomes a target. Amara's knees softened. Sir, I didn't ask for any of this. I know, Desmond said. And that's why I'm worried. Silence settled between them. But it wasn't empty silence. It was heavy, full of things neither of them knew how to say. Desmond suddenly reached for his chest. His breath caught. His face tightened. Amara stepped forward immediately. Sir, are you okay? He didn't answer. He stumbled slightly, grabbing the desk for support. Sir. Amara rushed to him as he gasped for air. His eyes squeezed shut as pain shot through him. His breathing became fast, too fast. The billionaire known for his strength was breaking right in front of her. Desmond. His knees buckled. Amara dropped to the floor with him, supporting his body with her arms. Help! Somebody help! Her voice echoed through the hallway, but no one was close enough to hear. Desmond clutched her arm weakly. Amara, don't leave. I'm right here, she whispered, her voice trembling. Stay with me, sir, please. She didn't panic. She didn't freeze. Something deep inside her, something she had tried to bury, took over. Her hands moved fast and steady. She checked his pulse. She loosened his tie. She lifted his chin gently so he could breathe better. Her movements weren't random. They were trained. Amara, Desmond whispered weakly, staring at her through pain-filled eyes. How? Do you know what to do? She didn't answer, because that answer was a secret she had hidden for years, a secret that now stood exposed. Just then, 2 security officers ran into the hallway. Sir, call the ambulance, Amara shouted. The officers hurried away. Amara kept Desmond's head gently on her lap, guiding his breathing, keeping him conscious. Look at me, she said softly. Don't close your eyes. He tried to smile through the pain. Bossy. For a waitress. She almost cried. Please just stay awake. He stared at her. Not with fear. Not with confusion. With trust. Real trust. The first real trust he'd shown anyone in a long time. His breathing eased slowly, just enough to steady him. The ambulance siren wailed in the distance. Then, Desmond's voice whispered faintly. Amara. Who are you, really? Her heart squeezed painfully. She didn't answer. She couldn't. Because the truth, her truth, was heavier than anything he imagined. But she looked into his eyes and said one word. Later. He let out a weak breath. Almost a laugh. The ambulance doors burst open. Paramedics rushed in. They lifted Desmond onto a stretcher. Amara stood slowly, shaking. As they moved him toward the exit, Desmond reached out and caught her hand. Don't leave, he said weakly. I'm not leaving, she whispered. His fingers released. He was taken away. Lights flashing. Doors slamming. Engines roaring. Amara stood there alone, her heart pounding. And then, a voice whispered behind her. You should have listened to me. Amara turned. Kenneth stood by the shadows, his face unreadable. You saved his life tonight, he said. But that only makes things more dangerous for you. Amara swallowed hard. Why? Kenneth stepped closer. His next words chilled her blood. Because now, my family will see you as a threat. If you like this story, comment, share, and subscribe to our channel for more interesting stories.